What's up, everybody? It is your boy Dillo, and I am back with the MMA Gaming 150 highlights. Let's get into the fights. First up is in the Xbox Bantamweight division. We've got Bully B going up against Blajabi, and it's ultimately Bully B with the Yan pick, landing this beautiful front kick to just land the ultimate punches on the ground to finish it, getting the TKO in the third round and moving 1-0 in his MMA gaming career. Next up in the PlayStation Light Heavyweight division, I promise it's not me, actually you won't see me at all in the highlights this week, is Carter Boxing MMA versus Reed the King Bay. And it's Carter Boxing MMA with his Blachowicz pick, where he just picks up this beautiful sub with ultimately a struggle at first, but he managed to pick it up and get the sub in the first round, moving himself to 1-0 in MMA gaming, and potentially might fight me for a title in the future. Next up is the PlayStation Big Boys Heavyweight. It's Kakisani versus Shane AA92, and ultimately it's Kakisani picking up the nice little combo here, just landing a couple strikes before he throws this left overhand that lands and just knocks the Aspinall pick and Shane AA92 out cold. And Kakisani moves to an even 5-5 in his MMA gaming career. Next up on the chopping block is an Xbox fight, the Xbox Light Heavyweight division, and we have Andrew 40475-198 going up against Black Santa 11, and ultimately it's Andrew blasting these beautiful leg kicks over and over with the Adesanya pick to drop the Blachowicz pick, and finally, after blasting a couple leg kicks, it's the left high kick to the right straight that knocks him down, and he finishes it up on the ground with some punches against the cage, and he wins via a nice TKO and moves to a clear 2-0 in MMA gaming. Next up is another Xbox Light Heavyweight fight, this time Darkseid going up against Freybands X, and Darkseid with the Blachowicz pick, picking up a sweet Kimura on Freybands to pick himself up a submission win and to also move to a nice 2-0 in MMA gaming. Now back to PlayStation for one fight in the lightweight division, El Miedo going up against Yo Mama's Basement, and it's El Miedo with the Pettis pick, picking up a nice head kick to right straight knockout of the Oliveira pick, and he moves to also a nice 2-0 in MMA gaming. Next up, we're back at Xbox for welterweight. It's Gutted Wizard versus I Want Privilege, and Matt Brown versus Anthony Pettis. Anthony Pettis just clipping the Matt Brown pick with some nice shots, some nice combos to drop him, but he goes for the head kick, and the Matt Brown pick from Gutted Wizard ducks it, lands this beautiful counter to the strikes to the ground. Gutted Wizard wins via TKO and moves to a crisp 3-0 in MMA gaming. Next up is another Xbox bout, a heavyweight bout between Huba Heber and JJ MMA 47. It's a beautiful scramble from the Aspinall pick to start at first, but Huba Heber with the right straight just knocking the Tom Aspinall pick out cold, and Huba Heber moves to a clean 2-0 in MMA gaming. Next up, another Xbox bout, another welterweight bout, I Wavy TSK going up against Summit Dom, and I Wavy just checking that leg kick, piecing him up with some nice shots, some nice kicks, absolutely hurting Sam, but ultimately, yet again, another loss for Sam as I Wavy TSK lands a nice combo as he's coming in, knocks him clean out cold. I Wavy TSK makes a beautiful debut and moves to a 1-0 in MMA gaming. Next up is a PlayStation bout, light heavyweight, Itachi Uchiwa going up against Chinon TV, and Itachi's Jones pick with the beautiful, and I mean beautiful, spinning elbow to hurt the Glover pick after just eating some shots and weathering the storm, and then he lands another spinning back kick to finish the job with a beautiful KO to stamp 1-0 on his record in MMA gaming. Next up, another PlayStation bout, but this time in the Bantamweight division. It's Jay Jeezer going up against Edson Choi for life, and Yet again, Edson, I don't know if last time he was on the receiving end, but a weird KO where Jay Jeezer, already having him backed up against the cage, just lands what looks like a nice bonk on the head, and out cold goes the Cejudo pick in Edson Choi. Jay Jeezer moving to a crisp 3-0 in MMA Gaming. Next up, another PlayStation bout, another bantamweight bout as Real Roy Smith goes up against 8-Bit Sugar, and Real Roy Smith with the Dillashaw pick, absolutely just pouring it on the O'Malley pick in 8-Bit Sugar, and Real Roy Smith knocking him down and just starting to land some vicious ground and pound, not letting up. It looks like the Sean O'Malley pick is in trouble, and the ref has to step in and save 8-Bit Sugar. It's Real Roy Smith winning his debut and moving to a nice 1-0 in MMA Gaming. Next up, we're back in the Xbox division, again, welterweight, as we have the Basement UFC going up against Saiyan Prodigy 1, and the Basement UFC with my personal favorite, the George St. Pierre pick, landing a Kimura and just sinking it deep as Saiyan Prodigy struggles to get out of that position. Ultimately, the GSP pick in the Basement UFC sinks it deep and forces the El Kukui pick in Saiyan Prodigy to tap, moving to a nice 1-0 in his debut for MMA Gaming. Next up, we have another Xbox bout, another welterweight bout, as Unquiet Silver 11 goes up against Sir Frisky YouTube, and Unquiet Silver absolutely hurting Sir Frisky YouTube, landing the shots on the ground unrelentingly as the ref has to step in and protect Sir Frisky YouTube from himself. Unquiet Silver picking up the TKO and landing to a 3-1 record in MMA Gaming. Next up, an Xbox bout. This time it's featherweight though. It's Your GF Curved Me going up against a debuting Notorious Morg, and Your GF Curved Me picking up a vicious TKO after both guys push to their limit, looking like they're both drained in stamina, but it's ultimately Your GF Curved Me landing the strikes on the ground to move to a nice 2-1 in MMA Gaming and spoil the highly anticipated debut of the Notorious Morg. And in our final preliminary fight of the night, we have a PlayStation lightweight bout where West Hawkins Pimp goes up against King Jr. FW. And after a beautiful Superman punch that lands through, he starts to land some punches and miss some punches as King Jr. slips some, but he's always got something up his sleeve, this West Hawkins Pimp, as he lands a knee to put King Jr. out cold and get his KO and move to a nice 1-0 in MMA Gaming. In our first bout of the main card, and the only bout that's not a title fight, we have an Xbox lightweight division fight between War Gilly and Tyler R.A. Ultimately, War Gilly with his Poirier pick and the Nurmagomedov pick surprisingly choosing to strike. But like I said, War Gilly with the Poirier pick landing some nice strikes and some nice counter strikes to put the Khabib pick down, and he starts landing some more ground and pound to pick himself up a TKO and move to a nice 9-2 in MMA Gaming. Next up on our main card, and the first championship bout of the night, we have an Xbox lightweight title fight between Great Mist Gaming and Lil Obesity V2, and ultimately Great Mist Gaming getting the Volk pick to land some sweet shots on the Oliveira pick, where Great Mist Gaming picks up the TKO against the cage to defend his lightweight title and move 2-1 against his rival Lil Obesity V2. And that leaves him with a nice 6-1 record in MMA Gaming. Next up, and I would like to apologize, there's 4 title fights on this main card. The PlayStation middleweight title fight. How could I ever forget about this? It is Will Cooper up against the rising prospect in Samurai Robin 23. And Samurai Robin, with the Whitaker mirror matchup, picks up a nice leg kick to strikes to the ground pound TKO to upset Will Cooper, and he is now your new MMA Gaming PlayStation middleweight champion of the world and is now a 4-1 in MMA Gaming. Impressive. And finally, in our co-main event of the evening, we have an Xbox welterweight championship fight where DJ Rouse 31 goes up against Carlo Cos 817 and picks up a beautiful spinning elbow knockout to put the Kobe pick out cold. DJ Rouse 31 becomes one of the most dominant Xbox champions in history and moves to a 9-1 record in MMA gaming. And finally, our main event of the evening, the PlayStation Welterweight Championship. And we have Marshall Machine submitting Sleepy Penguin YouTube with the George St. Pierre pick to successfully defend his MMA gaming welterweight title in PlayStation and moves to an 11-0 record and remains the pound-for-pound MMA gaming king. That's it for your MMA Gaming 150 highlights. I've been Dillo. I'll see you guys next event.